Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us on a Monday. We always like getting more information, and usually sometimes it's from those people who have actually had the coronavirus. This gentleman, his name is Carl Goldman. He joined our show last month, I believe. He received the virus, was on the Diamond Princess cruise, the famed Diamond Princess cruise, where everybody was quarantined and it was hell. He receives the virus, and he wasn't able to see his wife for a long period of time. If I'm not mistaken, he was put in quarantine at a hospital in Nebraska, and finally now he's been able to be back with his family and be deemed okay and healthy, and we're so glad that he's taken some time again to join us. Carl Goldman. Carl, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Carl?
Thanks for having me on. I am doing great. I'm home. I'm feeling healthy, and now I'm undergoing my fourth quarantine because we're shut down here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, as you know, you guys have that martial law there. We don't have that here yet, Carl, but I know you're not too far from Las Vegas. All the casinos, as I'm sure you've heard, Carl, shut down. All the businesses are shut down here. So we might as well be in a complete government shutdown as well. I mean, we're dealing with the same stuff here. But what many people have not dealt with is what you've had to deal with. Your story is crazy. You received this coronavirus most likely when you were on that Diamond Princess cruise. You're sent away to another state in quarantine, away from your family and friends. Tell me the day that you were finally noticed that they told you that you were free to be back into society.
I was actually freed from Omaha last Monday, so it's been a week since I've been home. I flew back from Omaha to Los Angeles late Monday and then came back and have been staying put in my house. So I'm, as I said, undergoing the fourth quarantine. I've been now quarantined since February 4th, as you said, first on the Diamond Princess, then in a biocontainment unit in Omaha, and then downgraded into a lower level of care, also in Omaha. And now this is quarantine number 4.
And so is the virus completely out of your system then, Carl?
Yeah, totally gone. I'm free and clear. I have my notice from the CDC that says I'm allowed to go out once, of course, the quarantine is lifted now for everybody. And they say I'm probably going to be immune from it for many, many, many months. What they don't know is, will I stay immune for it for many years, perhaps a lifetime? They just don't have the answers to that yet.
So your fever reached 104. As you know, a lot of people that have the coronavirus don't even know they have it, which is extremely scary. So for you, your fever reaches 104. That's an extremely serious situation. I would imagine you felt absolutely horrible. Would you compare it to a terrible case of the flu when you had all these symptoms?
Yeah, absolutely. But unlike the flu, I didn't have a stuffy nose, no headache, no sore throat. I did get a dry cough that stayed with me for about 2 weeks. The fever lasted about 8-9 hours during our flight back from Tokyo to Travis Air Force Base in Sacramento. And then the fever was gone. I was obviously fatigued. When I got to Omaha, they flew me from Travis to Omaha. They put me in the biocontainment area, which is like a scene out of a movie, because this was set up originally when the anthrax scare hit right after 9/11. Yeah. And then they never used it for anthrax. They used it for the Ebola virus about 5 years ago, and then I was patient number 2 in it. So, but they were angels for me in Omaha. It was the most incredible care. I was never really in any grave danger with it. I would compare it to, a mild cold, other than that high spike in fever. If I wasn't contagious, I would have been at work at a radio station in Santa Clarita, California, 2 days later.
See, I think that's what makes this thing so scary because, Carl, I would imagine with you don't have any other underlying serious health conditions, correct?
Actually, I did. I have GBS, which is Guillain-Barré syndrome, and I'm 67 years old. That's why they flew me to Omaha, because they thought I might be at risk. Luckily, that didn't happen. The virus did not go into my lungs, so I had an easy stay of it. over there. But yes, I was at risk. And one of the things that I advise people to do is, it seems like the virus, I know for me, I had that virus 3 or 4 days before the fever hit. And so it's very easy to walk around with no symptoms, touch someplace, a surface, and I understand the virus can live on surfaces for a brief period of time, an hour to 24 hours, I'm not sure yet, depending on the environment. So going back to the Diamond Princess, I could have picked up the virus from the guy that first got it, who got left off in Hong Kong, who we call Ground Zero, and never had any contact with the guy, and then vice versa. During those 3 or 4 days when I didn't have any symptoms, I could have, and yet was still positive, I could have touched something and, again, given the virus to someone else without any contact. That's why the Diamond Princess became a floating petri dish.
Right. And the close quarters didn't help either. So as far as your treatment that you were given while in the biocontainment unit in Omaha, Nebraska, I'm actually from Omaha myself. So it consisted of Gatorade. Did they ever give you any drug cocktails? Like, for example, President Trump is now talking about a new potential treatment called chloroquine for the kind of for the severe cases where the actual virus gets down into your lungs. Were you ever given chloroquine or anything along those lines, or was it just Gatorade?
No, for me it was just Gatorade, and I've been through every color, and blue is the bomb, and stay away from the grape because that's nasty.
Fair enough. So, go ahead, Carl.
They did give drugs to another patient there who was in much more serious condition than I was. I signed up for the clinical study, and so did that other patient. I was not qualified. I was too healthy to get the drugs because my lungs were clear, my oxygen level was high. So they put me through a different clinical trial that is going to help them get some answers. It wasn't going to help me over there, but I did it just to help speed up the process for everyone. And I'm still undergoing that, so they're still evaluating me as part of that clinical study.
Good.
But no, I did not receive any medication.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Carl Goldman. He was diagnosed with coronavirus, spent some time on that Diamond Princess cruise, that famed ship that sadly a lot of people contracted the virus on. All right, Carl, you've been through this, right? I mean, we're all being inconvenienced. I guess that's one term I could put it, and I guess you could use a stronger term than that, because a lot of people are losing their job. A lot of people are their business is going down the toilet, the economy. But you have lived through this, literally. So I have to ask you this question. We seem to be very divided as a country. There are some people in this country that are downplaying this virus. I don't want to make this a political question, but yes, there are politicians that are also downplaying the virus. And then there are others that are taking it to the other extreme, that are saying that this virus, we could be in a government shutdown for a year. I've heard some people say that. So for somebody like you that has actually had this virus, you've lived through it, I want to hear your opinions. Where do you think we're at? And for the people that are downplaying it, and for those others that are saying, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die, what do you say, Carl Goldman?
I say definitely quarantine all of us right now and nip this quickly. The sooner the better, because this virus is spreading very, very easily. As I talked about, you can not know you have it and spread it to someone else. 80% end up with mild conditions like I had, but 20% don't. And we don't want to go through this hybrid quarantine for 6, 7, 8 months. It's going to cripple our economy, which is already crippled, and the unemployment will just get that much further into crazy numbers. I'm watching and baffled that, without getting political about it, I'm just baffled that our Senate can't seem to come up with some kind of compromise here and pass that bill and start getting some aid in for all of us, for small businesses,
very surprising,
for big businesses, and for the individuals. That's what's going to take this and turn it around, and putting together then a strict quarantine so a month from now or 2 months from now we can start seeing this thing really turn around in our country, and we can get back down to business and our daily lives.
Can we talk about your business? Obviously, you're running a radio station out there in California. Are you allowing people in the building? What is your policy right now? Is your building on a shutdown? How are you dealing with that with your business?
Yeah, we are the only radio station for our market here. We're suburban L.A., and we cover a population of about 310,000 in Santa Clarita. So we are the emergency broadcast station, and also our website is the major news outlet. So we have the okay to continue to work and continue to operate. We've moved most of our staff to remote situations where they're working out of their homes, and luckily here in 2020 we can do a good portion of that. But we definitely abiding by keeping everyone separated. I'm not going into work, but my wife is, and kind of running the operation for us physically over there. I'm staying here and working remotely, and most of our staff, a good chunk of our staff, are working remotely. But we're continuing to operate.
Gotcha. As our station is as well. Carl, I want to say this on behalf of many. I think I speak for many when I say that thank you so much for telling your story to the world. I think it's very important for people to hear what you've had to go through, and the fact that, yes, if you get the virus, you should be okay, but you just got to get the help you need, and it sounded like you were taken care of, and we're so glad that you got the okay to be back in your home. Again, thank you so much for telling your story. We appreciate it. Stay safe, my friend, for you and your wife and your family, and we appreciate your time, Carl. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. And I just posted on I've been doing a daily journal on hometownstation.com. I just posted the 9 things not to do in quarantine. So maybe you guys can check it out and we can do a follow-up and I'll run you through the drill.
I would love to do that with you, Carl.
Sounds great.
Really appreciate that, and we will take a look at that and have you on again sometime down the road. Carl Goldman, thank you so much for your time.
Take care, guys. Bye.
All right,
Yeah,
take
thanks
care.
a lot, Carl.
Incredible what he's had to endure and go through. I'm claustrophobic. The fact that you would have to be in quarantine in a cruise ship alone frightens me, but he's been away from his wife. They send him over to Omaha. Luckily, the man is better now.
He's
crazy.
He's a big deal, Brian. The coronavirus has taken the United States by storm to the extent that we're literally doing the show from your kitchen table. I mean, Carl Goldman was the first person outside of Lawrence Garbus, the lawyer from New York, in the United States who really talked about what it's like to have the coronavirus.
Yep.
I mean, he's not patient zero, but I mean, as far as from an introspective standpoint, he is. He's the first one that actually gave us an idea, us as in the country, an idea of what it's really like. And so, you know, it's pretty cool to have a guy like Carl Goldman, you know, to come on our show.
Yeah, it's great. We appreciate his time, and it's incredible. We'll take more of your phone calls on the other side of the break if you want to give us a buzz. How are you dealing with this coronavirus? How is it affecting you here in Las Vegas? You could be in Pahrump. You could be at Boulder City, wherever you are. How is this affecting you and your family? Is it affecting your relationship with your wife or husband? Is it affecting your relationship with close friends? How is it affecting your business? How is it affecting your employment? How is it affecting your bottom line? I think we had one person who called in who said he tried going to the bank and it wasn't even open today.
I'll tell you this, Brian.
So,
if this stimulus package does not get done soon, there will be some serious issues, not just in Las Vegas, but all over the country, especially amongst people who have been in the live entertainment space or who worked as a hostess or a bartender for a company that isn't backed by the government, that isn't probably going to get government bailout money like an MGM or a Sands. Someone who works for a company that doesn't have a ton of money, I think you'll see some serious issues taking place.
So we're going to talk
if
about
those stimulus
this.
Checks don't come
I
out.
wanted to take a break. I want to talk about that with you on the other side of the break. So we'll take a quick break. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation is 257-5396. I want to get to that with what JD was just talking about on the other side. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, coming up here at the bottom of the hour, we're going to give you some Michael Avenatti news. That's right. He's speaking out. So we will tell you exactly what he has to say, and it's very interesting, to say the least, about the conditions that he's in. And he actually is commenting on the coronavirus as well. We'll get to that. And the Review Journal is writing articles on mock basketball games. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. They're pretending like these NCAA tournament games happen, and one of their writers, I'm not even going to say his name, one of the writers from the Review Journal is actually writing articles on mock NCAA basketball games. You want to talk about one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard in my life.
In great detail,
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, how I mean, you can't write about other stories that you have to write about fake basketball games.
This particular writer could actually write about sumo wrestling and have some familiarity with it.
Yeah, well, that's actually a good point.
Good.
That's actually
There's actually an article about sumo wrestling in the sports section today.
Is there really?
Yeah, there is.
That should be on the front page.
Yeah,
It was on the front
yeah,
page.
there is.
It was.
All right, let's go
of the sports section.
Let's take some more phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you've been waiting very patiently on hold. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Good morning, you guys.
Hi, Mark. What's up? Go ahead.
Right now, I'm looking at a June 5th, 2019 CNN article on the H1N1, also known as the swine flu virus. Okay? And they stipulate on here human cases of H1N1 from April 09 to April 10. Fatalities in the United States, that's a one-year period. Estimated total is 2,469.
Yep.
Worldwide fatalities. A 2012 study estimated a range between 151,700 and 575,400 deaths. That's a pretty wide range, and take CNN for what they are. I frankly think that they're a Trump. They become a Trump-hating news network.
Okay, but hold on. Let me hold on a second. Hold on. Wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just stop you there for a second. I agree with you that there are networks out there that are anti-Trump, but I'm sure you would agree with me that Fox News is very pro-Trump. So while CNN is anti-Trump, I just want to be fair here.
Yeah, but
hold on. Let me just ask him a question. Would you agree that Fox News is just as much as CNN is?
You're diverting from the real point. The real point is H1N1
Can I just ask him that question?
had 60 million people infected.
I'll answer the question.
Right.
Please do.
I'll answer the question.
Okay, go ahead.
I believe that Fox News is a conservative network. Okay, but Fox News, I find Fox News far more balanced.
Okay, so you're telling me after 5 p.m. you think, hold on, just for that, let's go with that for a second. You're telling me that Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, and Sean Hannity, you're talking to me about Mark Levin. And listen, these are some of the people. Mark Levin was on our radio show. I enjoyed having him on. But you're telling me those guys and, Chris Cuomo, you're saying that those shows on Fox News are fairer than CNN?
They're not journalists.
Okay, but we're talking
They're
about the
not
network as a
journalists.
whole. I agree with you. They're not. But we're talking
They are
about the
opinion shows.
I agree
I
with
don't
you.
know. What's your name? I don't want to talk to you if I don't know your name.
Well, you should have known my name before you called up then.
Well, it's the first time I've even listened to you guys.
I'm messing with you. I'm joking around with you. My name is Brian. My co-host is JD. We appreciate you calling in.
Those guys are opinion. Those shows are opinion shows.
I
Now,
agree. We don't disagree.
Getting back to the virus, though, okay? Can we get back to that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Where was the hype that you see today about this virus? Where was that same hype, that crazy, uncontrollable 24?
And so where you're going with this
the
is
hype about the swine flu. Where was
Right.
that hype?
where you're going with this
You want
is
to know why you didn't see that hype or hear that hype? Who
Why?
was president?
because
from
Trump wasn't
09?
president, right? And
Conspiracy theorist. There
it
we go.
wasn't an election year. Okay, and I've asked that question myself.
It's ridiculous.
On my personal Facebook account. I said, would all this
ridiculous.
reaction be taking place if Donald Trump were not president of the United States?
It's a completely ridiculous take.
I'm not sure I can answer that question either way.
Let me ask you a question. Were there
But-
antibiotics for the swine flu? Was there a cure? Were there drugs that they knew they could give people that could cure the swine flu?
I don't have any idea. I haven't.
Well, I do, and this is what you're forgetting. We don't have a cure for the coronavirus, and you're saying because Donald Trump. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on.
Brian, isn't the swine flu a virus?
Okay. The bottom line is
Antibiotics
you're trying to make
don't
this.
cure viruses.
I'm talking to the caller and saying you're trying to make this about Donald Trump, and you're saying the reason why we're in this craze now is because Democrats and CNN and liberals are overdoing this thing. You're wrong. You're 100% wrong. You brought up the swine flu. Guess what? You're right. The swine flu was very serious, killed a lot of people. But the bottom line was there were answered questions to that virus. We have too many unanswered questions to this virus. And you're the one who brought up CNN, by the way, sir, not me. You're the one who said that CNN, they're just, the fake news because you're listening to Trump. Fox News does the exact same thing. Fox News does the exact same thing that CNN does.
Since the flu is pretty much just a widely accepted sickness that happens once a year all over the world. If the swine flu was called swine 20 or the swine virus and not the swine flu, if the flu word was not attached to swine, would the reaction have been much more aggressive?
Ridiculous, because the flu is very different than the coronavirus, and you're not a doctor.
And you really can't. I'm just saying, you really can't argue with the numbers. The swine flu did kill significantly more people than the coronavirus has killed.
If you don't
as of
believe
right
me,
now.
all right, we got to take a break. We got to take a break.
The swine flu did kill 24 times the people that have died in the United States thus far, assuming that these numbers are correct.
We've got to take a break. But again, going to that last caller and what you're saying, we're not doctors. I'm listening to the doctors and the experts. And it was himself, Dr. Fauci, who has been saying this for days, if not weeks, that this could be a far more serious situation than any flu, including the swine flu that we've ever had. Guess what? I'm going to listen to him, and I'm going to listen to what he says over somebody who calls into a radio station and is blasting CNN and thinks this is a conspiracy. Sorry, folks, but this is not the time for conspiracy theories. It's a time for facts, and we need to listen to our doctors. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll take some more of your phone calls. I know there's a lot of people waiting on hold. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of this conversation, 257-5396. We will get to that. And also, believe it or not, a guy that used to be on our show a lot, Michael Avenatti, who's now behind bars, a convicted felon, he is speaking out about the coronavirus. Harvey Weinstein, speaking of felons, has the coronavirus. We'll talk about that and take more of your calls on the other side of the break right here. You are listening to The Vegas Take. Be back right after this. All right. Welcome back. Nothing like a little Phil Collins to wake you up. Welcome back to the show. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Speaking of sleeping, a lot of people have been sleeping pretty late in the day if they're not working, catching up on sleep, catching up at things at home. Maybe you could give me some advice instead of us trying to give you some advice. What have you been doing to kill time? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. We've had a lot of people waiting patiently on hold, so I want to get to as many as I can. Why don't we start with Scott? Scott, thanks for waiting. What's on your mind, my man?
Hey, what's up, Scott?
Hey, guys. I'm going to try to say what I have on my mind without getting you mad. But I am, I'm Republican, and I don't really agree with a lot of Democrats. However, I do have to agree. I looked up the bill, and they turned it down the other day. There's one part in it that I don't agree with, that $1.3 billion is supposed to go to foreign countries. Right now, I think it ought to be cut in half. For foreign countries, we have to take care of the U.S. right off the bat. If anyone else needs money, I'm sorry.
Can I ask you a question then? I agree with you, and we agree. Let me ask you this question, Scott. What do you make of the president the other day, I believe it was Saturday, going on social media? The first country that he said he really wanted to help was North Korea. He made some comments about Kim Jong-un. That was the first comment that he made openly about assisting other countries. What do you make of that, him going out there as a Republican saying that he wants to help a country and an evil, murderous dictator?
I don't agree with probably 98% of his – I don't even do tweet. I'm not a tweeter, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it.
I got you. Yep.
I don't agree with him. Being a president, I think that there are some things that's okay for him to tweet about, but there's other things that his opinion should be kept in his office with his entourage or whatever. That I think sometimes he oversteps his boundaries. Okay.
Yeah, we agree on that. You're one of those people that I would call a reasonable Republican, and I appreciate you being intellectually honest and saying that, because I think it's very dangerous and it sets a bad precedence when you say you want to help an evil, murderous dictator in his country. I think that's not the way to go about it.
Now, Scott, I don't really have an issue if that $1.3 billion is going to allies of the United States to try to to help them stop the virus spreading. To you?
Well, but here's the problem. I mean, I've done a little bit of research. America gives, the U.S. gives so much money every year to all these other nations and everything, countries. I think really we need to cut everything in half for 1 year and work on getting different programs for the veterans, the homeless, women with children, and cut it in half of whatever we're funding.
I can appreciate that, but having a $1.3 billion, we'll call it a stimulus package to other countries and that's kind of a heavy lies of crown tip. We've done that for a long time, but having that get in the way of getting all these unemployed people their stimulus checks, to me is pretty unreasonable.
Well, it goes to show you folks, and I'm going to attack both sides of the aisle on this. It goes to show you that our politicians are useless. They can't work together and pass this stimulus package in a time like this. They're never going to help us.
If it can't happen now, it's not going to take place, and there is no business for any bipartisanship or for any partisanship. It needs to be totally a bipartisan government. The government needs to be working together at this time.
The issues right now that my understanding from the Democrat side of things is that the Republicans are assisting more with corporations rather than everyday American people.
Corporations employ a lot of these people that are currently unemployed.
I understand that, but if you look at the actual specifics of the problems that some of the Democrats have in this bill that is put forth, the issues is that it's big business and big corporation, and they're not doing enough to help.
If this doesn't get passed in the next, we'll call it 5 to 7 days, I think you will start to see actual public unrest on a national level, especially in areas that are affected by this virus. Now, the one flip side to it is there's not a lot of places to spend your money right now. Like, it's hard for me to spend money at this point.
Brian, JD, from the breaking news desk, 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been postponed, likely until 2021. That message coming from the head of the Olympics.
Can you imagine?
Dick Pound.
Thank you for that. What's his name?
His name's Dick Pound.
His name is Dick Pound.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's not a porn star?
He should be a porn star.
Wait, hold on a second here. You're telling me that the guy who put this out, his name is Dick Pound?
That is correct.
Yes.
So if
it's trending right now. # Dick Pound.
So if he lived in China, his name would be Pound Dick. Is that correct? Don't you flip your name in China? I don't know. I'll have to ask some of the good Chinese people about that. I don't know. Let's go back to
just ask some of your dates.
Yeah, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Let's go to James. James, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, James?
Hey, afternoon, sir. Hey, I'd like to two things. One, I think we kind of went overboard on how we've reacted and shut everything down. I mean, South Korea shut down very little bit, and they rounded up everyone without jobs, and they gave every 2 hours they're disinfecting all these public spaces. I don't understand why, for one, we couldn't
which is
have
smart.
done that. And the second point is we are freaking out so much about this coronavirus when 400 people in the United States have died. You know how many people? Why are we freaking out about the common flu? I mean, 25,000 people have died from that this year, or drunk drivers killing people every day, or opioids.
Or heart disease.
Okay, here's my problem with what you're talking about.
Or cancer.
Okay, so here's my issue with what you're saying here. We don't have a cure for this virus, and there are a lot of unanswered questions. Now, yes, I understand, and I'm with you, and I've talked about drunk driving and opioids and all these issues. We've talked about it on this show. They're all very serious issues. The problem here, again, is we don't have a cure to this virus. And let me say this. I would rather it be an overreaction than an underreaction. What happens if we had the NCAA tournament, for example? What would have happened if 50 or 60?
I agree.
What would have happened? I'm just giving a hypothetical, if you don't mind. What would have happened if we had 50 or 60 athletes that contracted the coronavirus in the NCAA tournament? They were all fine. They ended up okay. But then they gave that coronavirus to maybe their parents or grandparents, and we had people die. What would have happened if these NBA players gave the... So, again, the point I'm trying to make is I would rather see an overreaction than an underreaction. Listen, make no mistake about it. This sucks, okay? This sucks for everybody. Yeah. You think I enjoy being in my home 24/7? No.
I'm a Teamster. Yeah, I'm a Teamster, and I work as a driver in the convention industry. We went from potentially the biggest year ever to we have no idea what's going to happen within the next 6 months. So it's a good thing I have savings.
Absolutely. You know who else is getting destroyed? Insurance agents. Insurance agents who used to insure people who had jobs that are now unemployed. They're getting destroyed as well. Now, one country, the UK, Boris Johnson, the president of the UK, a couple days ago, what he did was he identified all the high-risk groups that are most susceptible to the coronavirus. And he has recommended, in addition to a national lockdown, and he has recommended a 12-week quarantine for them in which the government will assist in providing them with groceries and essentials and everything medical and everything they need without actually having them leave the house. And I personally believe this virus is probably too far along. The spread is too far along to actually stop. And I think that would be the absolute best measure eventually. Once we realize that potentially millions of people have this virus, the majority of them who have it may have mild symptoms or zero symptoms.
Well,
and letting them get immune to it, and as well as protecting the high-risk groups, the ones that are going to actually end up in the hospital, that are going to take up the ICU beds, that are going to use the ventilators. Now, obviously, you're going to have a couple, fall through the cracks. I actually believe that if you've been vaping or smoking a lot of marijuana or smoking a lot of cigarettes, regardless of your age, you're going to be susceptible to this virus. I think that vaping.
Oh yeah, because it's an irritant. It gives it something to more.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you're heating up chemicals in the back of your throat. Obviously, that's long term. That's not going to help your lungs. So I think you're going to see a lot of young people who have been habitual vapors that'll end up being negatively affected by this coronavirus. To the extent that they may die. But what Boris Johnson in the UK is doing, doing that 12-week quarantine after identifying the high-risk groups, I think long-term that's probably the best solution. But right now we kind of have to go with the flow.
And James, not to bring up a phrase of the sexual predator himself, Bill O'Reilly, but I will give you the last word. But I just want to say this real quickly, if I may, and I think you agree with me on this. Listen, there's a lot of people that are thinking like you. You're not the only one. There's a lot of people that think this could be an overreaction, and that's fine. At first, I thought it was an overreaction, but hold on. I know you're ready to just let me finish what I said. The thing is, James, is that, again, I'll say it again, I'd rather have an overreaction than an underreaction. So, James, do you understand where I'm going with this? We'll give you the last word here.
Oh, absolutely. But wait, I understand that the idea is to flatten the curve, and that 2 weeks or a month that they're giving us gives American industry time to gear up and produce everything we need. But I think after that, we need to start opening things up a little bit.
I totally agree with that. And if this stimulus package does not get passed, and a lot of these people who are unemployed do not get these checks, there will be a lot of issues across the United States. And I'm talking anywhere from could be home invasions, could be looting, could be riot in the streets. I mean, a lot of things are going to take place if that does not happen soon, in my personal opinion.
And now we're hearing some of these heartbreaking stories throughout the country. And a story that I want to bring up because it's emotional, it's horrible. A single mom of six kids she has. She beat stage 4 breast cancer. And we're learning that she has passed away from the coronavirus. There are going to be, sadly, many more stories like this, and it's heartbreaking. It's awful. I want what I would hope everyone else wants, and that's we want this taken care of. We want this virus cured as soon as possible. We want it out of the country and off the planet as soon as possible. I would rather have people inconvenienced. Our economy will get back. We have more money in this country than any other country in the world. Eventually, the economy will get back on pace. It'll happen. I'm not worried about that.
I will tell you this: if the stimulus packages get too big and too consistent, I'm talking between all the airlines, the casinos, the unemployed, et cetera, we could be talking $5 to $6 trillion in stimulus. That could actually be on the verge of bankrupting the Fed. I mean, we could be looking at irreversible economic damage, Brian, if this does continue for 30 to 60 or 90 or even 120 days. And that's why Donald Trump, I think, made that tweet. He's now starting to see, wow, this is really starting to negatively affect the economy in a lot of ways, and we're going to have to give up. We're going to have to give out from our Federal Reserve.
Well, Howie's the president.
We're going to give out a lot of money to all these different people being adversely affected by it. Otherwise, we're going to have some serious problems. And is the total nationwide lockdown actually creating more problems than the virus itself? And that's a question that has to be answered in the next 10 to 14 days.
Well, you brought up the president, so I'm just going to say it. If he's just realizing it now and he didn't realize it 2 months ago, then there's something wrong with him. Just to kind of recap what we've been doing here in the breaking news. Again, the Senate has failed to pass this coronavirus stimulus package. The drive-through testing has now been halted as staff have been overwhelmed, not just nationally, but right here in Las Vegas. Governor Sisolak signed this emergency directive to close non-essential businesses. That's not going away anytime soon. Nothing really is changing here. There's serious times, serious consequences. And we need to all take care of one another. We need to be human beings to one another. And while I dislike the president, I certainly hope that he shows the leadership that he should show in these hard times. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, there's some famous people behind bars right now that have contracted the coronavirus, including the sexual predator himself, Harvey Weinstein. We'll get to that. and someone who's appeared on this show many a time, certainly not recently because he's a convicted felon. Michael Avenatti speaking behind bars about what he's had to deal with in regards to the coronavirus and many, many other things. So we're going to talk about that coming up next, included with the Review Journal, some crazy articles that they've written in the Review Journal over the last couple days, particularly in the sports section. So we'll take a quick break. We'll get back to those topics when we come back. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. By the way, quick note. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to be getting a Metro public information officer coming on our show. Are they worried about vandalism? Are you arresting people for prostitution and those sorts of things? A lot of questions we need to ask Metro because I'm sure they've been very busy over the course of the last days, weeks, and they're going to be pretty busy for the next month. No question about that. Also, we are going to be having a state senator join us on the show as well tomorrow. State Senator Picard is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So plenty of questions to get to him, and we will obviously always keep our phone lines open for you because this show is more important. It's about you than about us. So we will certainly continue to broadcast live throughout this horrible situation. Speaking of horrible situations, Michael Avenatti hasn't exactly been in the best of situations. Of course, he is the former attorney to Stormy Daniels. Many Democrats thought several years ago that he was going to be a great pick for president of the United States. Well, now he's a convicted felon behind bars, but we haven't heard from him, right? We haven't heard directly from Michael Avenatti. Well, he has written an open letter to the general public, and Jason Stein, our producer, is here to talk a little bit about that. Stein, what you got for us?
There's a couple new things on Avenatti. He's been in that MCC lockup for about a month now. He's awaiting now trial on the other case, the Stormy Daniels case, also in New York. And so while he's there, the Washington Post got a hold of a letter that he apparently, or that his attorney wrote, talking about the conditions and in his cell, not too pleasant. Apparently, his lawyer is saying that inmates there are lacking the soap and hot water to wash their hands, and that they face deplorable conditions. Avenatti's cell was infested with rats, and the facility itself reeks of urine. So quite a lifestyle change for Avenatti there. I know some of our listeners will think that's funny and think that he's getting what he deserved. But anyway, that's apparently what he's dealing with. Now, on top of that, a federal judge in Santa Ana, California, has denied Avenatti's request to be released on bail, saying that he is especially vulnerable to the coronavirus while awaiting trial there. A judge has said, no, you got to stay put. Now, the basis for the request is that Avenatti had pneumonia a couple weeks back. Now, on top of that, on top of being his immune system being weakened, he apparently has a cellmate that fell ill and appeared to be having symptoms similar to the coronavirus, and that man has not, to Avenatti's attorney's knowledge, been tested. So he's got this underlying pneumonia. He's got a cellmate that's also sick, and they're already in these deplorable conditions without soap and water. So they asked the judge to let him out. The judge said no go. So again, something that may become as good news to some of those Avenatti haters out there.
Those conditions are absolutely brutal. And listen, if we were talking about a murderer, a rapist, a pedophile, I wouldn't feel bad for them. But, Paul Manafort was in that jail, too, and I took his side on this.
Yeah.
I'll take Paul Manafort's side just like I take Michael Avenatti's side. These are white-collar criminals. They should not be treated the way they are treated. They should not be in these types of conditions, period.
And then you have Harvey Weinstein, who was actually walking around at his trial, basically trying to look feeble, more or less. But he actually does have the coronavirus. He's tested positive, and he's at Rikers Island. And considering he definitely has underlying health conditions, he obviously isn't in the best of health. I believe he's got heart issues, but that's not looking good for Harvey Weinstein either.
There's a guy that I wouldn't feel bad about.
No, I don't know. And honestly, you look at what Richard Burr did, the senator from North Carolina, who had a net worth of about $1.8 million, found out about what was going on in that private Senate meeting, sold off $1.6 million of his net worth, just a fire sale over the course of 3 or 4 days on a series of trades, and then reassured the American people to make sure that his stock was intact so we could actually get rid of it without watching it, drop drastically. In my opinion, Richard Burr, what he did was 50 times worse than what Michael Avenatti ever did. And a guy like Richard Burr should be in the situation that Avenatti is in and not vice versa. And the fact that there's rats and it's cold and there's no soap and water, of course he's going to get sick in there, and he's definitely susceptible to the coronavirus, and he should be considered a high-risk group, considering that the fact that he just had the pneumonia and his possible cellmate has it as well. There should be a public outcry about this. Avenatti should be tested. Everybody in there should be tested.
On a side note, when I heard of living conditions, rats smelling like urine, I've talked to some people that described Stein's apartment like that. So I thought they were talking about his apartment.
I thought they were talking about your old car.
Well, that could have been possible too. But in all seriousness, you're right. I agree with you. These conditions, and you're right. What this senator did is 50 times, whatever you want to say.
Significantly
it's
more
much worse. You're
Absolutely.
right. Worse than what Paul Manafort did, worse what Michael Avenatti did. I'm taking both their sides on this. It's inexcusable.
It's up there near to what Weinstein did.
But that is the point I made earlier, is that these senators, they were in these closed-door meetings. They knew what was coming. So you're telling me the president didn't know what was coming?
That wasn't 2 months ago. That was 1 month ago.
Okay, you're telling me the president 1 month ago didn't know what was coming? It's ludicrous. But let's move on. There's a lot of media outlets, a lot of sports radio hosts that are struggling for content. We've talked about that in these difficult times. The Review-Journal is struggling for content when it comes to the sports section. On the front page, they did an article on sumo wrestling. But now Adam Hill with the Review-Journal, who I believe is writes about the MMA. I've never read one of his articles on the MMA, but I guess that's what he writes about. He has a dedicated section of the newspaper where he put a mock NCAA tournament. I guess he thinks he's funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's pathetic. He's actually going into depth, Stein, right? Correct me if I'm right, talking about these fake games that took place and actually writing articles about them, which I find to be fascinating that the Review-Journal can't write better articles than that.
Is he at least putting these games into call it a video game and doing a simulation, or is or is this all just manufactured in his mind?
He's manufactured a what-if tournament. So obviously right now is the time when we'd be in full swing, right, with the brackets. Everyone would be filling out the brackets. And we don't have that, obviously. So Adam Hill has dreamed up what he thinks would happen with all these individual matchups, based on, of course, absolutely nothing. Now, I still get the physical paper delivered to my door. I grab it. I go into the toilet. That's what I do first thing in the morning.
Morning constitutional.
I'm where I grab the sports section, and I go in the
course.
toilet, and I read Adam Hill's comment.
I respect that a lot.
And I'm going, and I look at this, and I have to say, I mean, they're writing it with such detail and with such authenticity. I actually thought for a minute like I was Rip Van Winkle, and I fell asleep for however long, 100 days, and woke up, and like the tournament was back on, because I open up the paper, and it says, Blue Devils feel bite of spiders. And I went, what the hell happened? Is the tournament on? This is so legit.
So you're saying he has Richmond upsetting Duke?
Correct. So Duke. So here's the article. Duke misses 2 late free throws in loss to Richmond, and he's writing this as it's an actual article in great depth about the players having, how many points they scored, what the final score was.
I got an idea. How about, Adam, you do what a normal journalist would do and actually write a real article? Why don't you reach out to Mike Krzyzewski? Why don't you reach out to some of these college athletes, these seniors, their postseason was robbed? Why don't you do real articles instead of pretending like, thinking like you're funny and writing these articles on fake games?
I'll tell you what should be on the front page. A long article about Dayton and where Dayton was at. I mean, they were 1,000 to 1 at the beginning of the year. They were number 3 in the country before all this happened. They were destroying everybody. They went undefeated in the A-10. Obi Toppin probably going to be the second pick in the NBA
I'll tell you what
draft.
I'd like to do.
I would love to hear about how Dayton, how their coach and how their players feel about how they were literally, because they'll never get this up. They'll never get an opportunity like this again.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to do.
This could have been one of those years where a Butler type of team like a Dayton could have actually won the national championship.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a mock media bracket. What life would be like without some of these people in Las Vegas writing stupid articles like Adam Hill. My first bracket is Adam Hill versus Ed Graney. That'll be my first bracket. Who wins that one? Who wins that one? JD, who wins it?
That's actually really hard.
Wait, is the winner the person that
keeps his job?
That keeps his job.
Yeah.
So if you choose Ed Graney would stay with the newspaper, but Adam Hill would be in unemployment.
Honestly,
exactly.
I'm probably going to go with Adam Hill.
You'd rather have Adam Hill.
I think I would.
Really?
Honestly, that's a lot of imagination.
Well, it's kind of like writing horoscopes, like where you have to make something up every day.
The guy is clearly very creative. He's very passionate about sports. I appreciate how much he knows about the teams. I can respect that.
I don't think that's creative.
How is that not Brian, look,
It's pure fiction.
it's so how is it not creative? Of course, it's creative.
Well, I want to read actual news when I open the paper.
I
stories.
bet he had a great imagination as a child. I bet he played with dinosaurs and imaginary friends, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually would go with Adam Hill over
I think
Ed
he
Gray
still
in
plays.
that
I think he
situation.
still plays with dinosaurs.
It's very possible.
Yeah, I think he still does. All right. Well, that we disagree on that one. Your definition of imagination is a little different from mine. Do you
Now-
have any hate mail, by the way, Stein?
I do.
We
I
only got 2
got
minutes.
like 2 minutes for hate mail. Hang on a second. I got a couple here. One viewer writes, "It's been confirmed that Brian's whiny, annoying voice kills most viruses."
It doesn't kill the virus of stupidity. You're a perfect example of that. Go ahead, Stein.
JD doesn't even look like himself today. He has always had those mutton chops. His face is bloated, combined with greasy bedhead. What the hell is going on here?
See, I could laugh at that. That's
I
funny
like that. Make
because
it
they're not
happen.
making fun of me. They're making fun of you. So that's very funny to
Keep
me.
that going.
All right, we got about 90 seconds here. Hi, guys. How are you? I'm concerned because Brian's creep factor is off the charts today. Is he doing that on purpose?
Did you say today?
No, today.
Oh, okay.
Today, yeah.
Is creep factor is off the charts. Is this done on purpose? Hashtag so confused.
Well, no. I'm just wearing a bathrobe in my kitchen just to be attractive. What do you think, idiot? Of course, I'm having fun with this.
Okay.
In times that are very serious, I'm having fun. In fact, I'm not going to clean my apartment, and I'm just going to the trash is going to pack up and
Well,
pack up.
it is. It's all piled up, but it's behind AOC cutout, so you can't see it.
Exactly.
Tanya writes, senior year of high school, Brian was voted, quote, most likely to turn women gay. 1 minute to go.
It's not true, actually.
I believe that.
It's not true.
Sally writes, I love Brian, but then again, I love diarrhea.
Who loves diarrhea?
Sally.
Who would love that? That's disgusting.
Norman writes, Brian is a pig and he grosses me out. Get him off the air.
Yet he continues to watch
So
Now,
on our YouTube page.
Is that
Thank you.
is that hashtag get Brian off the air?
Yeah, hashtag
Okay,
get Brian.
okay, good.
So I do appreciate that people are still,
Yeah.
even in these terrible times, sending their
Well,
hate
and
mail. Thank you.
All
very
right, we
much.
got to go.
And
We got
apparently
to.
with the
got
terrible
15.
audio as well.
All right, we got to go. We got to take a 21-hour break, folks. We will be back right at you at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the calls. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. The man himself, Sean Hannity, is coming up next.